when I was 6 years old. My dad moved down here, bought a brush hog, went to an auction, bought a little bitty box, brought it home, was intrigued with everything in it. He started an antique shop in 1970 here in Cape Girardeau. A few years later, my father passed away. They closed the shop, and we moved back in the house. Well, my husband went to an auction to find out how much my father's stuff was worth. When he did that, he bought a little box. Once again, I'm living in the same house I grew up in. Still can't walk through the house, and I've got another hoarder.
Antiquing is like a little adventure. You never know what you're going to get. I became a collector at a very early age. A story that my parents used to tell a lot was whenever I was 7 years old, I was missing for dinner and no one could find me. What had happened was I ran off and saw an auction going on and saw everybody putting their hand up, bidding on stuff and winning. So I started doing that and winning a lot of auctions. The problem was I didn't have any money.
My husband and I got into this business in sort of a roundabout way. We went to an auction one day at Jackson, Missouri back in the early 80s. And there were 3 or 4 boxes of old vintage magazines, romance and movie magazines, much like these that you see here today. So we bid on them, and guess what? We got them. And that just got us on a head start to a paper kingdom of all sorts of different kinds of things.
My husband and I, the first week we were married, we went to an auction and began collecting, and we bought a table and only owned a Volkswagen, so thankfully somebody had a truck to bring home the table we bought. But so we didn't sell in a shop until our children, I have 3 daughters, one of them or 2 of them were in college, and my college. My college roommate said her and her husband had a booth and they were making the tuition payments with what they earned from those sales. And my husband and I said, wow. So we got just 3 little shelves to start. And oh, I don't know, that's probably 30 years ago already.
I would describe antiquing as just one big treasure hunt. It doesn't matter if you buy things to resell. It doesn't matter if you buy them just because you love them. I do both.
I do this definitely for fun. It's a hobby that's turned into an obsession. I finally admitted it. But you end up with a passion for collecting, and you never know, like I say, what there is in store for you. Once you go out, you see something, you know, you can say, I'm looking for this, and you go complete 360 where you're already purchasing something else different.
It's almost like a drug, at least it is for my husband. He just has so much fun. He calls everything's his treasures. Every weekend we go find treasures. Sometimes we go out of state. We go to different auctions. Sometimes in Kentucky, Indiana.
Every time we go somewhere, we stop at an antique shop. That's when we travel, we're always shopping.
Most of the things we've acquired have come from auctions and tag sales, and on 1 or 2 occasions from pig barns in the middle of a field, where literally we, with the farm dogs, went to the barn and came back with about 800 vintage magazines, which was quite an experience. The pigs were not particularly friendly, but it's okay, it worked out.
It makes the adventure all the more sweeter. Getting to go to a unique place, to buy a unique thing. There's the story, it's the experience. Not only you making history, you're selling it as well.
Any little town that you go through, it's always such a treat to get to stop at the little local antique shops and go through, look and see what they have. And it's amazing what you'll find that makes its way back to Missouri.
I think the downtown Cape Girardeau area is really good for antiques. We have quite a few shops. I think somebody said 9 down here.
It's very strong. It's a community of the people downtown. I think we have over 14 different antique stores in this area, so it's where collectively everybody likes to set up.
Oh, it's becoming one of the places everybody wants to come to. They come from Kentucky, Illinois. They come from St. Louis even. Cherokee Street in St. Louis used to be one of the hot hubs for antiques, but we've got probably 7 shops just down in 2 blocks radius in Cape Girardeau. And we're becoming a place that everybody knows. Go to Cape if you want to do antiquing.
I think the antique market here in downtown Cape is one of the best in the state, if not the country. We have a great variety of stores. They start not on Main Street, just go up Broadway. I mean, I couldn't even tell you offhand how many there are. But each store has a variety of items. Some specialize more in one thing than another, but I guarantee you anybody who comes to Cape Girardeau to antique is not going to go home empty-handed. I think people are interested in antiques because there's a real sense of nostalgia. There always has been, and I think there always will be. Whether you grew up in the 70s and Star Wars was your special thing, or if you grew up in the 50s and metal dollhouses were your thing. I think it's just a sense of nostalgia. I think it's also comforting in many ways. Antiques are reminders of our past, and that's very important.
The reason we're interested in antiques, one of them is we feel like the old things have quality that newer products, same item you could buy today wouldn't have the quality. Also, just they're interesting, their history, and so it's educational and just fun.
Collecting is something that you're born to do. I've been doing it for almost 40 years and it never gets boring.
My husband used to be very quiet, and he's still quiet, but if you get him talking about antiques, he's a totally different man. He's very communicative, and he's very knowledgeable, just like my father was.
Well, if you've never thought about buying and selling antiques, I'd say it's more than a hobby. It's a vocation, an avocation, and it's a great retired person's activity. I heartily recommend it.